Hello and welcome back to the official YouTube channel of Anastasis Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ananya B. Chatterjee, your VARC mentor. And I welcome all of you to Bibliophile 14, wherein we look at topics and articles from various domains and various topics. And we try to go through an article analysis together. So, the article that we are going to talk about today is My Journey Discovering Art Cinema with Satyajit Ray. For your information, Satyajit Ray was one of the most celebrated Indian directors, film directors of all times. He was also given a Lifetime Achievement Award, which he could not, of course, go and collect because he was unwell. But there was an honorary award given to him. I think Audrey Hepburn, the celebrated Hollywood actress, was the one who presented Mr. Ray with the award. So let's read this passage. This passage is based on cinema. So, media. The title is My Journey Discovering Art Cinema with Satyajit Ray. One second. Ray gave the mental strength to me as a viewer to watch more art cinema from India and abroad. As you know, cinema is often categorized in two separate domains: art cinema, and then you have commercial cinema. Right? Art cinema, and then you have commercial cinema. So that's Mr. Ray, Mr. Satyajit Ray, the ace filmmaker, and he was a very versatile person. He was also an author, a great poet, and he dabbled in graphic designing also back in the day. Graphic design was not even a thing back in the day. Watching Shatranj Ke Khiladi, one of the most celebrated movies with Amjad Khan and the old uh, Nawabi way of life. Watching Shatranj Ke Khiladi on DVD, a Hindi film with good mainstream actors in my 20s, was the first time I recognized Satyajit Ray's cinematic sensibilities. Cinematic sensibilities would mean the nuances or the skills a person has in terms of cinema. Things that are intrinsically intuitive, that are not very learned, that are just there. It was a major boost to my confidence that I was able to get his creative vision despite having no exposure to the world cinema. World cinema is cinema across the world. He was not a highfalutin director in my mind anymore, but rather a relatable filmmaker with a clear sense of what he wanted to depict, what he wanted to. So the author, when he reminisces about his childhood memory of watching a Satyajit Ray movie in his 20s, he asserts two things. Number one, there was a special cinematic sensibility about Satyajit Ray. And number two, he also thought that this director was not a highfalutin director. Highfalutin director is somebody who is very pompous, or somebody who's very pretentious, trying to show off. He was not like that, right? He was rather a filmmaker with a clear sense of what he wanted to depict, without the frills and the laces. Having lived near Kolkata all my life, it should have been easy to consider cinema as an art form, but my fascination with Bollywood stood in the way. The author admits to being late in getting introduced to Ray's genius because Bollywood was something that came in the way. However, Shatranj Ke Khiladi made me realize that Satyajit Ray and his art house cinema was not esoteric. Esoteric is a beautiful word. Esoteric means that something, it is an adjective, it means something which is understood by Very few people. Very few people. Not everyone. It's not everyone's cup of tea, basically. So the author asserts that Ray's cinema is not esoteric. It may be art cinema, but it's not like Ray is just catering to a certain strata in the society, the intellectuals only. ऐसा नहीं था, you know. With an interest in his over, as in his work, I tried to pick up some more films to build an emotional connection with his work. The next film on the watch list was Nayak. In Bangla, it's called Nayok. I thoroughly enjoyed the idea of a film covering an entire train journey. That was the plot of the movie. Ray was now quite appealing to a commercial cinema lover like me. Surely there were certain qualities in his cinema that attracted not only aficionados is enthusiasts, enthusiasts from niche audiences, niche as in special. So sorry. But also patrons of commercial cinema and those who wanted to create a new space with middle cinema. So here we are being introduced to three concepts. Number one, there is an art house cinema, there are commercial cinemas. Okay. There is a third thing called middle cinema, which caters to both the audiences. Okay. Second thing that we can understand or infer from this is that Satyajit Ray had a knack for not only drawing the crowds who were intellectuals and niche audiences, he could also draw the crowd in terms of commercial cinema lovers, right? And the third thing that we learn is that there were certain qualities in his cinema, in his movies, Satyajit Ray's movies, which made it appealing to both classes, right? Both groups of people. Borrowing some of those qualities would help any aspiring filmmaker to reach out to his target audience. So the author says that the posterity, the future directors can also take a leaf from the book of Satyajit Ray's amazing uh, body of art. A journey of discovering Ray without reading what the critiques had to say and what the experts on cinema had to write about him was challenging but satisfying. See, this is something I also believe in. Whenever you are trying to internalize, observe, enjoy a work of art, be it a painting, be it cinema, be it music, be it a work of literature, be it a sculpture, be it a marvel of architecture, the moment you start reading the critiques, you get biased. Then that objective, neutral understanding and knowing the author's work is kind of compromised. So the author says that he did not read the critiques first, he watched the movies first. It was challenging though, but it was satisfying, he says. Finding those strengths required an inward journey, looking within to understand why Ray films were so endearing to a lay viewer. Uh, During this process, the author learned a thing or two about going inward to understand why Ray's movies, who was a very profound thinker, why his movies were so relatable to an ordinary viewer, a lay viewer. I was enthusiastic to watch all his films and then measure the overall impact on my taste and preferences. So author was experimenting with his own preferences here. I did not expect to turn into a hardcore art house film buff after watching his entire body of work. So this is something that was unexpected. The author never thought that he would become an art house cinema lover, but that is exactly what happened to him after watching the entire body of work by Satyajit Ray. Ray films offered layers to investigate, but my superficial level of viewing his cinema made me love his narrative legerdemain. So, what does a Satyajit Ray movie offers? Huh? What does it offer? Sorry. So, author agrees. So, author is very confessional apparently that his viewing was superficial. Superficial means surface deep, skin deep. And he thought that Ray's narrative style was, you know, legerdemain. So, legerdemain means magical. He could grab the interest of viewers with zero understanding of art house cinema. And that's something amazing. So, his target audience was probably not just the art house lovers. Even the layman could enjoy his movies a lot. Ray films conveyed so much that the white chasm or chasm, chasm is the abyss, gap between art films and commercial cinema was bridged. That's the beauty of Satyajit Ray, by the way. For those of you who have never watched any movie by Satyajit Ray, just watch Mahanagar or Nayak and Pathir Pachali, Charulata. I began to feel comfortable with his cinema just as I was comfortable watching Bollywood fare. So the author was not questioning his tastes anymore. I did not grow into an analyst of his cinema, but a loyal viewer who liked his cinematic outings. Within a short span of time, I gathered the courage to pick up some more on my plate: Kanchenjunga, Ghore Baire, Shakha Proshakha, Kapurush O Mahapurush, Chiriyakhana, Pratidwandi, Mahanagar, Shimabaddho, Jalshaghar, Agantuk, amazing movie, Ganashotru, Joy Baba Felunath. After watching these films, I felt fairly qualified to see what Ray called his best, Charulata and Opu trilogy, including Pothir Pachali. These are the two movies I would also greatly recommend if you are a cinema lover. Usually, viewers begin with the best films of a filmmaker, but I did not stick to this rule. The author was experimental again. Although it was not intentional, as mentioned earlier, I had grown quite comfortable with Ray. I did not have to sit and scratch my head while watching his cinema. So the author could relate to Ray's cinema in general. I was sure I was not getting the depth right, but whatever the film was about, I could figure it out with ease. For me, this was enough as a viewer during that stage. He was not watching those movies as with the eyes of a critic anyway. I was not terrified of art anymore. I could safely consume more art in cinema. Ray gave the mental strength to me as a viewer to watch more art cinema from India and abroad. His cinematic genius blurred the artificial boundaries in my mind. And I could switch from my comfort zone and slip into the art mode. I could easily talk about Ray films with my friends who still kept him away from the mainstream. A lot of people have a habit of, putting Satyajit Ray on a pedestal, not understanding that that is exactly what the guy was trying to fight. He did not want to be typecast. I tried to convince them that his cinema was worth viewing by the masses, not just the classes, and that his storytelling was engaging and kept one's interest alive. Surely a big strength of an art filmmaker or a commercial film director was to able to communicate with viewers from diverse backgrounds. When I gradually expanded my watch list to include offshore auteurs as in directors, amazing directors, I felt empowered because having watched Ray films in hindsight as in retrospect, looking back at the past, it was good I did not see Ray movies with any intellectual burden. Otherwise, it's a lot like a person who has no background in literature starts to read Shakespeare. There is a freshness to it. The person is not coming with the intellectual burden of, okay, Shakespeare writes tragedies and comedies and this, that. There's a freshness to that. Perhaps this is why his cinema never appeared beyond my reach. Not even I was cinematically illiterate, beautifully written, appeared beyond my reach. Even not even when I was cinematically illiterate. It is precisely the reason that his that this gentle self discovery of art cinema has initiated a quest that continues even today at a languid pace, languid as in slow. So it's a beautifully written article. You can read the entire article later. That's the end of it. Sorry. And so in this article, the author talks about his experience of watching Satyajit Ray movies and how he graduated from one movie to the rest of the movies, and how Satyajit Ray's movies were not just for the classes, it was also applicable to the masses. How it is important to watch something with a fresh pair of eyes, instead of being, rather than being burdened by intellectual critique of something, that kind of messes up the beauty of art anyway. I have always believed that it's a beautifully written article with amazing vocabulary. Please go ahead, write down these words in your vocab copy if you are maintaining one, and keep reading. You read the article once more. I would suggest, I would advise, read this article one more time in silence and see if you are able to make sense of the entire thing. So that's it from my side, I guess. I'm going to see you in the next episode. Till then, keep reading, keep learning, keep getting better.